Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm glad to be back. I want to say thank you to everyone who watches the videos that I put out there. I really appreciate it. And if you get anything from it, please like and subscribe. And if you don't get anything from the content, that's okay too, because at one point in my life, I was a person who watched a lot of videos and a lot of content, and I wanted to be a person who was able to bring forth messages, and YouTube was that platform. So if you look through a whole entire video and the words and the messages that I'm bringing forward to you don't really hit you, then at least, if anything, if you are a person who wanted to try to do something different, then take this opportunity to say, he did it, I can too. So, with that being said, I wish everybody light, peace, and progress, right? Today's topic is about spirituality, a spiritual journey, being more spiritual. And I love talking about things like these kind of topics. And as I said before in a couple of my other videos, my content and my videos come from posts that I see people write. I like to answer some of the questions. I like to talk about the things that people are talking about, in addition to the topic and materials that I put out there as well. And everything that I talk about, you can find on other channels, and that's the beauty of it, because we get to explore what we're looking for through other people's perspective, right? When I'm looking for ideas to make certain projects, because I'm really into a lot of craft and designing, there are multiple channels I look at, right? And that affords me to let that wheel of creativity spin a little bit bigger, because there are more people and more channels that I look at, and so I learn, right? I take this platform as a way to teach people, and a way to, even for myself, learn as well. So with that being said, throughout the course of my week, I have spoken to several people, and our conversations were general, but we also were talking about spirituality and spiritual growth and spiritual journey and being more spiritual. And I love talking about just a lot of things, right? Especially being spiritual journey, how to be more spiritual, what does it take to be more spiritual. And what I find is that a spiritual journey is a process. It really is. And a process involves steps. And steps equal footwork, right? And I love it, because when people talk about being spiritual, they think about things, that are related to the journey. I want to light more sage. I want to do more spiritual cleanings. I want to pray more. I want to do more yoga. I want to learn more chakras. I want to learn how to read more tarot. I want to pray more. I want to be more loving. I want to go to church more. The things that they express that they want to do. And everything starts somewhere. Everything starts somewhere, right? And it's fine to burn sage, and it's fine to burn Palo Santo, and it's fine to do spiritual cleanings. It's fine to do readings and Kundalini and, chakra work and shadow work and all of that. It's fine to do all of that, right? And that is the practicing. That's the movement of everything, right? When we're talking about a journey and you're talking about being more spiritual, like I said, it's a process, right? So there's a lot of maintenance that goes on in there, right? I remember when I used to go to church and I would be sitting with everybody else in the congregation, and the pastor would be talking about praying. And he would talk about things like, you have to pray all day. It's okay if you wake up in the morning, you thank God, the energy that you believe in, whatever it is that you believe in, the God, the source, the creator, a Lofi, any name you want to call it. You wake up in the morning and you pray, thanking for the opportunity to be here, having a breath of life, being able to get up and function to start your day, right? And to go about your business, right? But then throughout the day, there's maintenance behind that, right? One prayer in the morning, one prayer in the evening is not enough to carry you through a course of a day, right? Because sometimes after you wake up and you start getting your day on, and then you put yourself in and around people, now we're mixing energies. We're around people and their behaviors and their attitudes and their ways and their beliefs and their morals and their values, right? And just energy, because we are people and we have energy. And if I have energy, then another person has energy. We exchange energy, we give and take. We're around, we absorb, and sometimes we deal with people and attitudes and behaviors. Really can do a lot for a person as far as being more productive in your spiritual journey and your process, right? Because a lot of times we meet people, and it's always a blessing when you meet a person and y'all gel and y'all mesh, right? What a wonderful relationship. And sometimes you meet people and you don't gel and you don't mesh, and you're like oil and vinegar, right? And the relationship becomes a challenge, and it's not all glitter and glamour, right? And sometimes we're around people like in your work area, right? And you don't have a really good relationship with some of your coworkers, or maybe you're at work and the type of work that you do is very challenging because of the customers that come in. And so they come in with their attitudes and behaviors, and you have to deal with that. And so if you think about it on a daily basis, we are actually doing a lot. It's like if you wake up, you go about the course of your day, and you have this bag that you carry with you, and your bag starts to get full of attitudes patterns, behaviors, energies, and all kinds of stuff, right? And you hold on to all of this stuff, and even that weighs down on a person, right? So being spiritual is so much bigger than lighting candles and taking baths and getting cleanings and kundalini and saging and meditating and yoga. And like I said in the beginning, the components of it, but there's a lot of maintenance that goes on to that, right? And I get a lot of people who talk to me and they're like, Angel, I want to be more spiritual and I want to do this and and they glamorize it. And you get a lot of videos out here, and I'm not discrediting anybody, because you know what, I view my content, and I'm really new to this game, and the more and more I put myself out there, I know that my content will be better each time, and I'm not discrediting myself either. I'm not saying that my content is not good, but the more and more you practice at something, the better and better you get at it, right? And sometimes, when you're looking for something, especially when you're looking for things that involve your spirit, I always say, when you're in that area of your life, research topics, information, videos, content, or whatever it is to the fullest. Because when you're talking about spirituality, how I look at it is like my life depends on this. So what I'm looking at and what I'm taking in, that I'm looking for to make me a better person in my spiritual life, right, has to be information that I'm going to put into me, so that way when I digest it, absorb it, and break it down and utilize it for the purpose that I'm looking for, then it turns into material that I could use, so the way I can bring it back out to help other individuals. So yes, my life does depend on that, because if I'm not doing anything for me, Angel, this temple, my mind, my body, and my soul, then there's really not anything that I can do for another person, right? And I remember people saying like little phrases and quotes and sayings like, 2 dead batteries can't start a car, right? If I'm in a place where I'm not good and I'm around a person that's not good, and we want to get somewhere and we're just so damaged and broken and we can't even help ourselves, how could we help each other, right? How do you help another individual when you're not right inside, right? And I even look at that and I tell everybody that I work with, like, I'm not a person who will sell you a fallacy. Because a lot of times when people come looking for spirituality or want to embark on a spiritual journey, I find that in the beginning of the process, some people are damaged. Some people have trauma. Some people are broken. Some people are desperate. They come in need. And I have to be in a place where I'm good for myself, so that I can help a person, right? And if I can't be that, then I can't invite anybody for a consultation. I can't invite anybody to get a spiritual cleaning. I can't invite anybody to come over to have some prayer work done for them. I can't do those things if I'm not on fleek. If my spiritual frame is not 100, right? And I don't want to do anything to hinder a person when they're coming to me in a state where they're frail, where they're broken, where they're desperate, where they're hurting, where they come from trauma and they need healing. Because the only thing that I would do is add salt to the wound. And everything has a balance, right? So if I embark on helping a person when I'm not okay and I damage them more, then I have to answer to a power greater than myself, right? And I'd rather have to answer to a power greater than myself for mistakes that I made because I really didn't know what I was doing. So that way when I'm being convicted by the spirit to my spirit, so that way I could learn from my mistake, then that's where I want to be at. I don't want to be convicted by a power greater than myself for something that I did because I knew that I shouldn't be doing something, right? And that is very important to me, right? So when you talk about being spiritual, what does that mean, right? I can open the Bible and I can read it from Genesis to Revelation, page to page, and then tell somebody, well, I read the book from cover to cover, right? But what does that mean, right? What does that mean? That just means that you know the book from beginning to end by reading it, right? And I'm using the Bible. The Bible's been around forever, right? And lots of people have found good and elevated states in their life by reading a book like that. It has changed many people's lives, right? And it's a book that you have to read within your spirit. There have been times where me and my husband have opened up the Bible and we're reading just things separately. He's reading stuff for himself, I'm reading stuff for myself, and we might even be reading the same chapters in the book, and he may get a totally different message than what I get, right? And what you have to always remember is that when you're doing any kind of spiritual work, it's always personal, right? And I come from the church, so I refer a lot from there, right? And I come from a lot of stuff, but I refer from the church because that was a foundation for me for a long time ago. And I need to tell you that that was the seed that was planted for me, really, so that way I could be in a place. Without that, I don't think I could ever even be here making any kind of videos, right? And I remember gathering up on Sunday and being in the pews, and the pastor being in the pulpit, bringing forth a message, and I'd be listening to it and smile and grin from ear to ear because everything that he's saying is touching me right here and even deeper in the spirit, and I'm getting that. And that's that affirmation, that's that confirmation. And right next to me there's a person that's crying, like just tears, weeping and sobbing and screaming, and it's hitting them in a different direction. And then you hear another person's right here next to me, and that person is just probably high in the spirit, and the message is moving all of us, right? Because you go to church to get your spirit filled, and the thing that happens when you get there is that God already knows what he's going to say to every one of those people that's sitting in those benches, right? So if today's word has something to do with being more forgiving, right? And I just did a whole bunch of things that were forgiving, and I let a lot of things go, and I talked to people and I said, you know what, I understand what happened and I forgave you, and I walked off, and I did that for me in front of them, right? And I go to church on Sunday and they start preaching on forgiveness, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, thank you, God. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was obedient to what it was that you wanted me to do. And I sit down in the pew, and Mrs. Williams is sitting next to me, and she's crying her heart out because she wasn't so forgiven in the week. And so her spirit is being convicted in a different way, right? And maybe because this person was forgiven, the person sitting on this side, that is why they're so high in the spirit, because they were so glad that somebody gave them the opportunity to forgive them for what they did, their transgressions, right? And you have to be in a place where you're open to receive spiritual information when you want to grow, right? Another thing I want to talk to you about when it pertains to being spiritual, or a spiritual journey, or being more spiritual, right? When you finally connect in a point of your life where you really actually put those words out into the universe, I want to be more spiritual. And it could be, for example, that you're having so many things going on in your life. Like, your world is just turned upside down, and the things that you're doing on a daily basis, you just are disgusted with how your life is moving, and you just don't want no more, and you just, I need to be more, I need to stop, I need to be more spirit, I need a spiritual, I need a makeover, right? That is the beginning, right? And I need to tell you that when you start that process, right, a spiritual journey, it's not all roses and glitter and rainbows, because the very first part of that is that you have to clean house. And I was just talking about this with someone. You have to clean the house first, right? And when you start doing the cleaning and you start looking at yourself for who you really are, right? And I have an exercise that I teach people. It is a mirror exercise, right? And you get in front of the mirror and you really start looking at yourself beyond the makeup and the eyelashes and the baby hairs and the mustache that you did and the dip, line that you got, and all of the clothes that you got on, and your face is beat and all of that. And if you look past all of that and you get to really see, because I want to tell you something, and I've been there. There have been many times that I've gotten in front of a mirror and I could never even see myself, right? And I find that to be true with some people that I've talked to. Ask yourself, how many times have you gotten in the mirror and really looked at yourself, right? Taking a look at who you really are. And the mirror will expose you for the person that you really are, because you can't hide, because it's just you and you, right? And sometimes taking a look at yourself for who you really are can be painful, because when you're not aware and you're walking around in your daily life and you don't think that you're a certain way, and people say, hey, you're this, you're that, and you're like, nah, I'm not listening to that, whatever, but if 2 or 3 people call it a duck, then probably it's a duck, bro. And there's nothing wrong with just taking some time to stop and take a look in the mirror to see who you really are, right? Because you may find that you don't like who you are. And you may look in the mirror and be okay with who you are, right? But it hurts nothing. And it costs nothing for you to take the time to look at yourself. That's the beginning to me. Look at who you are, right? Because a lot of times when people talk about they want to be more spiritual, that's a calling. And when I talk to the people that I'm dealing with and the ones that I teach, and they're like, you know what, now that we're doing these things and we're being more spiritual, like, I feel like, God, I feel like I'm being weighed down. I feel like this is happening. I feel like this is happening, and, it's just that I'm looking at this and I don't like this and I don't like that. And that's part of the process. It's part of the process, right? You're not going to like everything you see about yourself. And it's okay. It's okay because you get the opportunity to do something about it, right? I always say this comes from somebody that I really love. Knowing is half the battle. When you know what you know, you can't go back to not knowing, right? So being in this process entails lots of work. Lots of work. You can light a candle all day, all night if you want to. But if you ain't right in here, it's a bright light. And yeah, you may have the intentions, right? But if you don't have the equipment and you're not doing the work that's necessary, lo and behold, to the person who lights these candles, because sometimes when you're lighting candles and you're funky, and even though you're trying to do the right thing, it becomes a challenge. I'm not going to say that it's not going to work, because you know what? We have spirit guides and we have ancestors, and even though you put that petition out there, it still may work, right? But why get a crumb of the bread when you can have and enjoy the whole loaf, right? So it is a process. It really is. And I had a video on shadow work, right? And I remember discussing this particular topic about shadow work with one of the young ladies that I'm working with. And to be honest with you, like, there's so many things that are out there, right? There's so many things that are out there that have to do with building your spirit. And like I was saying, to be honest with you, like, when it came to shadow work as that word, when she was describing it to me, shadow work, and I do shadow work on myself, and I'm like, okay, what's that? What you talk about? And when she described it to me, I kind of laughed, because I said, you know what? I didn't really have a name for it, but this is stuff that we were doing. And basically, shadow work to me is self-therapy, like working on yourself. But today it's called shadow work, right? And so that's what it's called. And as I got a better understanding of what it is, I was like, I've been doing this for quite some time already, before they dubbed it as shadow work, right? But what I'm connected with is that times change, things change, and the language changes. And so what orange is today might be another word tomorrow, right? But shadow work is very important, And I have a video on that, and there's many videos on that, and that's not where I'm really going at, but it's a part of the process, right? You have to be able to identify the pieces and parts of you that are not so good, so that way you can work on them, right? Negative and positive energy exists, right? And if you work on negative energies, then you know how to maneuver a little bit better. Just the same way if you work on positive energies, it helps you maneuver better, right? It's like when I give readings to people and they're like, oh my God, I'm scared that I'm going to hear something that's really bad. And I'm like, why would you be scared of that? Because one, if I'm putting it on the table for you, now we know what the problem is. So now we know how to take care of that, right? There's nothing to be afraid of, right? And going back to what I was saying, being in the church, like, God didn't give us that spirit. It's not a spirit that was handed out while he was giving out gifts. He didn't give that. That wasn't a gift that he gave us, right? Can't be afraid of something that you don't know about. The fear of the unknown. What is that? The fear of the unknown? You have to know what it is first before you can say you're afraid of it. I'm afraid of something that I don't know about. What does that mean? I mean, I get what people are saying, but you're like, you know what? I talked about this in another video. Choose your words wisely. Speak right. You know, a lot of times we like to parrot things that we hear because it sounds good, and because we're so accustomed to it. It's been things that we heard, so it just kind of, some things just are kind of like programmed in us because they've been repetitiously said over and over, and we hear it, and it just becomes, you know, it's a cute thing to say. But speak wisely. Think about the words that come out of your mouth. How could you be afraid of something that you don't know? Think about that. It makes no sense, right? Get to know what it is that is hindering you at the gate, because the gate is that voice that you use. I want to be more spiritual. So if you're coming with baggage already, and you're coming with so many things, and you're tired, and you're ready to do something different, and you're ready for a change, and you're ready at the gate with everything you come with, right? Let it go. Let it go. Because I'm going to tell you something. 9 times out of the 10, once you let it go, it makes the process smoother, right? If you're not right and you're in a relationship and you want to hold on to this person because that's all you have, right? Let it go. Because when you finally do the work that's necessary, maybe you realize that because you wasn't so good to yourself, how could you have been good to the other person? Be fair. Give that person an opportunity for them to actually get help too, right? You know, if you're a person who's dealing with substance abuse or mental illness, and you have a job and you have a car and you got a family and everything is going just to the gutter for you, right? Can't stop getting high, and your money's getting wasted, and you're out there doing the things that lifestyle has to offer, and it's affecting your mental illness, and you just don't know what to do. Let it go. Let it go. Go check yourself in to a place where you can get help, because even in places like that, they help you. First to detox, then they bring people to come in and talk to you that have had that same experience, and then they have clinicians and therapists and psychiatrists, a team that comes together to help you rebuild your mind. And then they offer support groups where people talk about the things that they went through, and they share their experience, strength, and hope. And that's based on the spiritual, so you get your spirituality built up. So by the time you come back to reality and the world and the land of the living, right, you know how to deal with it more. And yeah, you may not have the job anymore, you may not have the car anymore, you may not have the apartment anymore, you may not have the boyfriend or the girlfriend or the husband anymore, but it's okay, because you get to start all over, right? Why hold on to something that's not gonna help you, right? You know, these attitudes and the behaviors that we play out in certain lifestyles, they become tired, they become old. And when you start to get older in age and gain more experience, certain things do not become appealing anymore. And when you're looking at becoming a more spiritual person and embarking on a spiritual journey, right? The truth is that you can't do certain things. And again, a kingdom divided against a kingdom can't stand. You can't serve two masters, right? Either you're going to do one or you're going to do the other. You can't build your foundation on trying to be a spiritual person and every day you out there boosting and stealing. You can't try to do a spiritual cleaning on somebody because they need help and you're prostituting and you're smoking crack. That doesn't work, right? What are you doing? What are you doing? You know, you have to stop certain behaviors. You have to stop certain things that you do, right? Clean your house. Clean your house, right? Once you release all the baggage at the gate, then it's time for you to step in, step through the gate and start your process, right? I guarantee you, if you come with all your baggage to the gate, and this is a process, so I'm creating a picture. You let everything go, and you start to walk through the gate and into your process of a spiritual journey. Just that much will be more smoother, right? Taking a look at yourself, like I said, praying, being around people who are edifying to you, surrounding yourself around people who are evenly yoked, right? Why would you hang around people who are drinking when you don't want to drink anymore, right? Why would you do that? Why would you hang around people who like to boost and steal, and that's not what you want to do? And I get it. Sometimes some of the people that we hang around, even in the lifestyles, relationships form, and you really like the person, but weigh and measure. That's when you should start judging. Weigh and measure and judge that relationship. What's the payoff? Where's the benefit? Is there one? And if it's not, let it go. Let it go. Right? Because what God has for you is for you. And if you stay there waiting around for the other person, then there just might not be another opportunity. And once you hear that voice inside you and you start feeling uncomfortable in your own skin because of the things that you're doing and the way that you're living, feel that. Like I was telling somebody in our conversation, she was explaining to me about how she got into a car with another person who was drunk, and the car got into an accident, right? And what she said to me was, I was mad at this person because they almost took me away from my son, right? But when we talk about looking in the mirror and the spiritual process, yes, be mad at that because, yeah, that person was foolish and they were reckless. Okay? But the work begins on, are you mad at yourself for knowing? Because I know for a fact, and I'm not getting on anybody, I'm not getting on you, I'm just trying to put it out there. I know for a fact that anytime I get in a car with somebody who's inebriated and they're drunk, that there is a possibility that once we get in that car, even if we're strapped up and we're driving, there may be a possibility that there might be an accident that can cause us bodily harm or even death or harm to someone else. It's a given. I know that is a possibility. That trip in that car could cause any kind of damage, right? So be mad at yourself for knowing something and then go ahead and doing it anyway, right? If you're hanging around a person that you know that their attitudes and behaviors are funky, right? And you don't like being around this person, but for some reason you continue to hang around them and it annoys you. Every time you're around this person, you just can't stand that person. Every time you leave them, you're like, oh my God, I don't know why I hang around such and such, because they get me this and they get me that and I can't stand it. Stop complaining. You know how you stop complaining about this person? Stop doing it. Stop doing it. You know, you have to change your ways, right? If you're a person who's accustomed to going around stealing and boosting and shoplifting, and you're getting arrested all the time, maybe it's a possibility for you to start getting a job, right? You won't see POs too much if you work for what you get, as opposed to taking it off the shelves, right? Stop doing it. Even this one, man, if you're a drug addict and you know your life is just crumbling away, smoke after smoke, you know what I'm saying, injection after injection, sniff after sniff, you know, tab after tab, stop doing it. And yes, of course, all of these things are not easy, right? Because we continuously to stop. They're not easy to stop right away. Because if you've been doing it for so long, it becomes habitual and it becomes a part of your lifestyle, right? And if you just can't stop doing it, get help for it. There's plenty of people that can help you. Listen, I'm going to tell you something, right? And there's plenty of people who know me that watch these videos so they can testify to that, right? I was in a place in my life where I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. And I wanted to. You ever been in a place, man, where you want to stop and you can't, and you're crying because you're hurting and you just don't know how to stop, and you're praying and you're asking for all please, if you just do this for me and I won't do this no more, and then you find yourself doing the same thing again the next day, or even right after the prayer, because that's how deep this could be, bro. Right after the prayer, right after the amen, and then you get up and do it again, right? Find people who have stopped Get around them. Ask them how they did it. Do what they're doing so you can stay stopped. So that way you can continue building yourself up. So that way you could be more spiritual. Because a lot of things that we do have nothing to do with raising that spiritual vibration higher. Right? Take a look at what you're doing. Make a self-assessment on yourself. Take your inventory. See what it is that's going on. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Right? Check yourself all the time. Forget about checking other people, because other people are not you. You can check a person, right? But if you check a person, for every time you check a person, check yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's what you have. You go to sleep. Even if you're with somebody, yeah, you're in the bed sleeping with that person, but you still have to sleep with yourself, bro. Be okay in the bed by yourself, right? A spiritual journey will entail lots of work. And sometimes, man, I even tell certain people, right? It's okay while we in this process. Some days you just don't want to like me, right? Because anybody who knows me, I'm patient, I'm kind, I'm loving, I'm humble. But I've been around the block and I've seen a lot of things. And in order for me to remain that way, I preserve myself and I preserve those parts of me, right? And when I'm working with somebody, I challenge them to do the work that's necessary, right? Not for me, right? It's like if you want to lose weight, and let's say you come into my office, my gym, that would be my office, but my gym, and I'm a fitness trainer, right? And I got all these cuts, muscles, and all of that. And you come in, and let's say that your scenario was you had enough of being overweight, 450 pounds plus. You're tired of eating, you're tired of sitting around, and tired of being lazy, and tired of buying heavy clothes, and tired of hearing people say things like, oh, you're so cute in the face, you know what I'm saying? I'm tired of everything that has that overweight has to offer. Don't get me wrong, there's people who are overweight and they don't have a problem with that. But I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking to the people that if that was your situation and you come into my gym and I'm this buff person and you're 450 pounds plus, right? It's coming to the gate. Put all the things down that continue to keep you bondage, right? Because I want to tell you that a lot of times we like to blame external things, but you know what? We keep ourselves bondage ourselves. You know, for the most part, we're the best security guards at holding ourselves prisoners sometimes, right? Get out of your own way. Step out of your own madness. Put all those things that don't serve you any good down. And step into the gate. A trainer will push you and challenge you when you want to give up, when you want to eat something that you don't want to eat. You know what I'm saying? They will tell you 1 more, 2 more reps, run a mile more when you don't want to do it. But no pain, no gain, right? Yes, your thighs will be burning, and your abs will be burning, and your arms will be burning from the workout, and it will hurt. But would you rather go through a pain that is going to give you a beneficial outcome, or to deal with a pain that will continuously bring you suffering? Right? Same thing about being in a relationship with somebody who doesn't care about you. You want to stay there because it's familiar? Do something different. Why be in a relationship when every time that person comes home, you're getting punched in your face, you're getting talked down to, and you're staying there because it's familiar, right? No, that's not all you know. As humans, we know so many things, but we choose certain things. So we have the ability to make choices all the time. Choose life. Right? Choose life. Choose something different. Do something different. Right? I tell you, yeah, I'm loving, I'm patient, I'm kind, all of that, but when people say, I want to be spiritual angel, I want you to help me out, I'll be like, put your seatbelt on, bro. Strap in. Because this really is the ride of your life. Right? I've had people tell me, I don't even want to deal with you no more because this is just too much work. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be here. Right? And I tell myself, well, you know what? Maybe it's a pause. But when you're ready to come, like, find me. Another sayings that I'm going to say comes from another person that I love dearly that's no longer here. Right? Ibaye to her. Love and spirit. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I don't have to broadcast what I do that helps people. I talk to people on a daily basis. And if I feel that, you know what, there's a time for us to connect, or if they reach out to me and they tell me, then we start a process. I'm not going to say, okay, you know what, you must come to me tomorrow. I'm going to give you a reading and I'm going to charge you an astronomical price for a reading. We don't do all of that first. You don't put the cart before the horse, right? You don't tell me you want to become spiritual and you're like, oh, you know, I see you're a Orisha bees. I want a Orisha bee. You don't get a Orisha bees if you don't have no altar up. Everything is a process, right? So the first thing I tell people, all right, you know what, especially when they're interested in Orisha work, right? Because I'm learning too as I go through this process. But what I do know is that you can't get to that level if you ain't got no altar, no spiritual. If you're not working with your ancestors, your egguns, and you're not doing spiritual work, you can't get to that. Everything is a process. There's levels. There's a video that I saw on YouTube with this lady. She breaks it down, the hierarchy of that. That's a process, right? Everything is a process. You know, for people who know me, I love planting. Some plants right here, right? And a lot of times I plant things from seeds. Here's another one, my avocado plant, and I planted that from a seed. It was a process for it to get there. It was grown somewhere, made its way to a supermarket. I bought it. I saved the seed. I put it in some water. That started off in water, and I had it in water. I didn't put no toothpicks in it. I just sat it in water. And it grew, all of that grew out of water. And then when it got big enough, I put it in soil. And it's doing fine. But it was a process to get to this place. It took steps. This plant is almost about a year now. But it started from a seed. Come as a seed. get planted, grow, bear fruit, and offer your fruit to someone else who's looking to be in a place where you at. And I tell everybody, the reason why I do what I do is because somebody and some bodies were there for me when I wasn't in the lights. And in spite of who I was, they took the opportunity to show me. And there were some people who didn't stick around because maybe I was just too much for them, and that's fine, right? But even a small amount of time that they were there, right? And because of people being there when I wasn't there for myself, I'm here. And so what I tell people is the reason why I do what I do is because somebody helped me. And there's a person in the future that will be looking for help. And so if I help another person, then they will help other people, right? And that person will continue to help another person. And it keeps going on and on. A journey means action. So that means you have to put steps. You have to take things, process it little by little till you get to where you at. Sometimes the spiritual journey could take a while. It depends. Because you remember and you think about it, and this was part of my conversation, right? The person I was talking to was around my age. And they were saying, well, Angel, you know that when we do this spiritual work, right? And they were saying, especially with the people that's in our age range, we've been through a lot. We've seen a lot, right? And so by the time a person gets to do that, they have all this trauma and things that are going on. Let that stuff go. Like, work on it. Because what I find to be true is that the things that happened to me when I was younger, I'm talking about a little boy in my teenage years, it can't happen to me no more. I'm not afraid of my abusers from when I was a little boy because they can't hurt me no more. I'm not afraid of the actions that I've done to myself because I'm not that person anymore, right? You work like your life depends on it. Look around. And I tell people, this is my voice, and anybody who talks to me, they'll tell you this is what I say on a daily basis. It's thick out there. Turn on the news and you can see what's going on in this world. Everything. People are killing people over color. People are killing people by way of viruses, germ warfare. People are being oppressed in their countries. You know, people are being trafficked around the world for sex, children. People are getting on your phone, calling you for scams, taking your money out of your bank account. You know, all kind of stuff. All hell is breaking loose out there. Right? And in order for you to survive, you have to be right in here before you go out there. The world is not a bad place. It's designed and created specifically to show us everything that goes on in life. That is its function. It prepares us for everything that goes out there. But the truth is, you have to be suited up. You don't go out into a thunderstorm without no umbrella or some rain gear. Same thing with the world. You can't just go out there like that. I know many people, including myself, who have gone out into the world unprotected and got beat up, bro. Whoa. If you go out to the wilderness and you have no army, no armor gear, no nothing like that, so let's talk about suit up, the breastplate, the sword, the shield, the helmet, suit up, and then walk out in there. Because then you'll be afforded the opportunity to come back. And if you walk out into the world and you're not suited up and you get an opportunity to come back, clean your house. Clean your house. Get into a place where you can walk out there and you're not afraid to be a part of the world. It's not wrong with the world. What's wrong with the world is us. The things that we do. The smarter we get, the more dangerous we become. Right? With great power comes great responsibility. Right? And so, in knowing all of that, when you want to become more spiritual, take a look at what you're really saying to that person that you're talking about. Because this is a process, bro. Even me, I'm still working on myself on a daily basis. I'm not 100% spiritual, but I'm further away from the person that I used to be. Right? Because that life and that person that I was would never, ever have the thought capacity to sit and talk to another person about how I'm getting better. Right? I didn't talk about those things. It wasn't in my vocabulary because it didn't exist. Right? You only talk about things that are relevant to what you're doing. So if I'm sitting down smoking crack all day, I'm not going to talk about getting elevated. The only high that I'm talking about is what I'm going to buy next. Right? But if I'm not doing that, then I'm doing something else. And if that something else is about being more spiritual, those are the conversations that will be coming out of my mouth. And those are the people that I will be hanging around with. And when you get around a person who is willing to teach you, right? Learn how to trust. Do something different. Because a lot of times I find, and I'm only talking about me, I remember when I was journeying and I didn't know too much about nothing, right? I needed other people to show me how to live because the way I was living, it wasn't right, bro. And even though I had my trust issues and, I wasn't really sure, but I listened. I did stuff that I would never do so I could change my life, so I could be here today. I took a chance at saying, damn, let me listen to what they're telling me, because what do I gotta lose? Because everything that I've been doing hasn't been working so far, so let me do something different, right? So when you get around a person and they tell you, hey, okay, you know what, I hear you, well, let's start working on this. Take the time and opportunity to work on that. Do what they tell you. Right? Get connected to other sources. From even when I was younger, they used to promote commercials about, I was just talking about drugs. There's so many other ways you can get high, a natural high, without putting any substance into your body. You don't have to do none of that. How many times that I could tell you that I've been elated without the use of any substance? When you do spiritual work, you won't have to really reach out to anything external to make you feel better, right? Any void that you have in here, you will be able to replace and fill voids on your own. It's nothing like being in a relationship, bro, with someone and being happy every day because you know you good and y'all worked on some solid foundation and you love that and that's everything you wanted, right? But it takes work. And I say that because I remember being in relationships, right? And feeling so alone with that person. And I'm talking about being in relationships with people for years, right? And just not feeling good about the relationship, about myself, about the choice of person I picked. How horrible does it feel, bro, to lay down with a person and engage into sexual intercourse and feel worse than you did before you started, right? How do you lay down with somebody to do something that's supposed to bring you satisfaction, joy, and elation, and when you're done you just feel like crap, right? You got nothing out of that. I know what that's like, right? Stop self-sabotaging yourselves. Stop self-abusing yourselves. Do not allow the things that people do to you. Do not allow yourself to do it to yourself too. If people are beating you up, then why would you beat yourself up? To be more spiritual, to be in a spiritual journey, right? It's practice. Remember, it's not what you think it is. It's not. I can get down on my knees and cross my hands and pray to from when the sun goes out down till it comes back up, right? But if I'm just gonna get up and do the same thing over and over again, I need to check what it is that I'm doing. I'm gonna tell you another thing. Don't shadow work or start or start journeying in this process by yourself either. Because we don't know everything. I don't know everything. I have a godfather, I have a godmother, and when I need to call, I call them, hey, what is this? What is that? You know what I'm saying? What do you think about this? Even when I'm out of snacks, right? Or I have friends, hey, you know, this, I'm doing this, what do you think? I don't have all the answers, right? And sometimes you can do certain things by yourself, but when you talk about the spirit, you really do need other people to help you along the way, bro. I needed people, right? Be gentle on yourself. One of my favorite sayings that I like, put away the bat and take out the feather. Stop abusing yourself. Stop talking negative to yourself, right? Replace your conversations. Cans with cans. I don't with I do. Tell yourself you beautiful when people tell you that you're not. Be more loving if you see that you're not. Start doing some kind of exercises for yourself. The mirror exercise. Anybody wants to know about that, I'll be happy to share that with you. Inbox me, I'm on Facebook. Right? Take a look at yourself for who you really are. So what? You may not like what you see. Right? But you can change that. Prime example. I love to use little examples, and sometimes they might not be, but they're closely related. If you make something for dinner and you cook it and y'all eat it and you save it in the refrigerator, and then you don't get a chance to eat at it again because you're busy or you just kept cooking something else, and by the time you go in your refrigerator and that thing that you made 2 weeks ago is still in your refrigerator, when you open that refrigerator, it's not going to be a pretty sight. Not going to be a pretty smell, right? But what you could do is you can fix that. Take it out, throw away what's going on, wash that container, clean your refrigerator out. It's the same thing with yourself. You get in front of a mirror, you see what you don't like. Take whatever is inside of you out. Clean yourself up. Replace. Do something different. Right? Stop and say stop. Get rid of everything that is hindering you so you will be empty. But if I get rid of anything that's inside of me and I'm empty, then what am I? An empty blank canvas. So that way you get the opportunity to rewrite, repaint, put back in what you took out. If it serves you no purpose, get rid of it. Stop blaming people for everything else. So what? Your mother abused you. So what? Your father abused you. Right? They're not doing it now. And you can't blame how you act today because of what they did to you now. And if you do, you're not working on yourself. Right? I'm this way because my father treated me this way. No, you're this way because there's truth in that. But you're this way because you continue to be that way. Right? I'm tired of this MF cheating on me. Then get out. Get out the relationship. If you can't make him get out, then you get out. Stop complaining about it. Complaining is the beginning to change. Because that shows that you're human, that you can feel uncomfortability. Right? The complaint is the start of it. But then after the complaint, what do you do after that? Get out. Do something different. Unless, of course, that's what you like doing. But I guarantee you that I know for a fact that when people are living lifestyles that they're not comfortable in, they want to get out. Right? Man, I'm telling you right now, if you're a person today and you hurting and you suffering and you can't get from point A to point B, and you feel like every time you take 2 steps forward, it's 5 steps back, right? And no matter what you do, you just can't seem to get it together. Find some help out there, man. There's plenty of people that are willing to help you, right? Don't take on anything by yourself. There are things that we can do by ourselves, but there's sometimes we do need people to help us. Get to a place where you could be helped and free, because there's a person waiting for you out there that's gonna need some help. You want to be more spiritual? You want to be in a spiritual journey? Get with somebody who's going to help you in that. Learn how to trust, right? And I'm going to tell you something. The first moment that you feel like you can't connect with that person because they're taking get out. They're taking advantage of you. Get out. Right? Whether you're coming to a person and they continuously ask you for money, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you going through that? Well, you know what? Give me $500 for this, or this. If you give me $500 for this, I'll do this for you. Right? I'm telling you right now, I'm not getting on anybody for what they is. Listen, people's prices are people prices, right? I'm a consumer, and I was talking about this the other day. If a pair of Nikes are $139 at one store, and it's $79 at another store, right? And in the same product, but this store is known for it. Not knocking that side. There's people who are willing to pay $139 for a pair of sneakers, and there's people who are willing to pay $79 for sneakers. That's not to discredit anybody's work, right? But if you feel that every time you go into a person and they ask you, then stop doing it, right? And there's a lot of other things that I can talk about. It's just not money, because I've heard of other stories, but it's not for me to talk about it. But when you feel uncomfortable about the person who's helping you, and you feel like it's not helping you and it's giving you a problem, and if it's not something that's not too big where you can't talk about it, right? And you can't rectify that situation, then get out. Make sure that when you doing any kind of spiritual work on yourself, a journey or being more spiritual, that you keep in your mind that your life depends on it. You owe it to yourself to make the very best decisions that you can make, so that way you can be a better person. Don't waste any more time, anybody, right? If you don't believe anything I say, all you gotta do is take a look outside. Turn your television on, right? Talk to some people. There's enough evidence out there if you don't believe me. Listen, I want to leave you on this note. Give yourself a break. Do something different. Even if what a person is asking you to do is something that you would never ever do, give it a try. Because if you come to a person and you're broken and you want to be more spiritual, or you're desperate, or you're hurting and you're in need of healing, and you've never tried what they're offering you, try it. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Give yourself permission to move. And pray that you find another person, because I'm going to tell you something. When you're ready to be moved to a place where you're going to evolve, a power greater than yourself will always step in and guide you in the right direction, right? I always leave on this, man. If no one told you that they loved you, I love you, right? Be more gentle, be more kind, be more patient with yourself. We've been through enough already. People who are seeking more spiritual enlightenment and spiritual work and spiritual guidance, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of times people that are looking and searching for that already been through a lot. Give yourself a break. Do something different. Remain open and teachable. Remember, if you got anything out of this, please like and subscribe. Until next time, be good.